This is the Dallas Morning News.
The presenting sponsor for the Intersections podcast is Lynn, Pinker, Hurst, and Schwegman. Built on a culture of winning, these trial lawyers have proven experience, elite preparation, and relentless focus in the areas of commercial, intellectual property, and employment litigation. Visit Lynn LLP to learn more. And thank you so much to the Lynn, Pinker, Hurst, and Schwegman Group for all you're doing to support the Intersections podcast. This episode is brought to you in partnership by Clay Cooley Automotive, family-owned, family-operated automotive company serving the local DFW Metroplex for over 22 years. Clay, thank you for all you're doing to make Intersections possible.
Well, Elaine Agather, this was a fun conversation. We went all over the board, but she is just so effervescent. The energy, the enthusiasm, and everything she's seen over 47 years in banking. Terrific story.
Personal life, professional life, she's done it all. Philanthropic work to banking work to having a family. She really is a classic, iconic woman in the business world that's been able to manage and marry everything in her life into one.
A lot of histories about Texas.
Yeah, she tells a lot of great stories. Tune in. Welcome to Intersections, where we take a multi-generational look at the critical issues facing America. Tom, introduce our guest.
Elaine Agather. She is a fixture in this community. She is also a fixture at JPMorgan Chase. She has been there 47 years. She is a global vice chair and chairman of the Dallas region. In addition to that, involved in the community, as I mentioned, she has been the chair of the performing arts in Dallas-Fort Worth. She is on the board member of the Cowgirls Museum and Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Been involved in the Dallas Citizens Hall of Fame, and I can continue on that.
This is long.
But I'll tell you, if you visit with people where they remember her, is being in the Fort Worth rodeo and marching in the entrance of that. And you've done 1,000 appearances?
Well, probably, because I've done it 37 years.
37 years.
And when I got to Fort Worth, the bank sent me to Fort Worth in 1990 to run a Texas Commerce Bank. There weren't any women running at that point. And they said, why don't you go to Fort Worth? I said, I'd love to. And I went to the rodeo, and I thought, I really want to ride in the Grand Entry. So I went up to the general manager, and I said, hi, I'm Elaine Agather. I'm with the bank. He goes, I know. I said, well, I'd really love to ride in your Grand Entry. He goes, young lady, I want to tell you something. If you ride one, you got to ride them all. Do you understand me? I said, yes, sir, that won't be a problem.
Amazing.
So there are 28 performances every year. So 28 performances times 37. And before he died, he came to ride a Grand Entry, and he turned around on the horse, this is about 5 years before he died. And he looked, he said, she's still coming.
Still here.
It was great. I loved it.
Well, we want to get to the banker and that.
Yes.
But I think we ought to start with the most important things first. Where do you get all those outfits, and where in the world do you put them?
Well, I've ridden a long time, and so they're there, and, it's a combination of...
Yeah, I don't assume this is something you give to Goodwill. So.
Well, no, but I will give some to the Cowgirl, I think. Some are
But where do you
special.
keep them? I mean, seriously, there's a lot
at
of
my house, yeah.
Closet?
Yeah, my house, my closet, yeah.
And where do you get them?
Different places, but the story that I think some people have heard is my husband was listening to an NPR radio program, and the story was on Nudie, who was the most famous Western designer, and he designed for Roy Rogers. And deep in the Depression, Roy said, look, Nudie, we got to make these people happy. They need to see me at the top. Put some sequins on me. And that's where the whole sparkle started. Anyway, he was fabulous. He was a Russian immigrant. And then there was Manuel. They are both gone.
Part of the story is your husband wouldn't give you the name initially, right?
That's right. He still won't.
Oh.
And so he pulled over, Googled the guy that's alive that worked with Nudie, called him and said, my wife rides around in a circle. Would you make her an outfit? And so every year he'll call this gentleman in Hollywood. I don't think he does Western that much anymore, except maybe for me. Anyway,
so do you fly out there?
No, I don't. He sent him a shirt and a pair of pants from my closet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's afraid I'll call him and buy some. So, it's his thing. So anyway,
Love that.
but they're all great.
Well, 47 years in banking.
Yes.
Let's step back for a second.
Yeah.
What's led to the success? I mean, you started out in a training program at Chemical Bank. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yes.
But 47 years, vice chair of the largest, most respected financial institution in the nation, taken a variety of different responsibilities. What's led to the success when you step back, Elaine?
We all are from a family, and I think my parents, the way they raised me, my father was a bulldozer operator.
Mm-hmm.
In the 30s, Depression, Roosevelt had a program where they would send young men to CC camp, Civilian Conservation Corps.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned how to run a bulldozer, and he ran a bulldozer my whole life. And he was funny, and he was charming, and my mother finished high school, but they both worked so hard. And I knew the expectation was to work hard. And I had one sister, I have three sisters. One sister finished college, and the other two did not go. I went to college and then business school, and every time I would do anything, today these kids have so much pressure, but they just thought it was great. Finished college, that was great. Sherman, Texas, then finished business school, that was great. In fact, my dad said, I'm not sure what business school is, but it sounds good to me. And the funniest story is when I wanted to live in New York and get a job. That was about the basic analysis I did. Today, they are so ready for us, but I needed a job, and I thought it'd be fun to live in New York since I was from Sherman, Texas. Why not? And the job offer was Chemical Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him I'd always wanted to work for a bank. And I went down, I've told this story so many times, but I left the building and went to a payphone, and it was like 57th and Fifth Avenue. A lot of people, young people, don't know what a payphone is, but we do. And I called home collect, and that means you reverse the charges. And my parents went to another room, got on the phone. I said, I just got a job offer from Chemical Bank in New York, and I'm going to move to New York. And my dad had a way of just always making you laugh. And he said, well, does this mean you'll stop calling collect? And instead of saying, oh my gosh, I've never been out of Texas or Oklahoma, where are you going to live? He just knew how to believe in the person and make you laugh about it. And his sense of humor has always stayed with me, which I've needed through 10 mergers. But I think their joy,
I think
their
I actually
sense
counted
of
11 in your time.
Well, that's true. There are 11, counting the last one.
So what were the things that took you from Sherman, Texas to University of Oklahoma, et cetera? We'll get to those things. But what took you to New York? Like, why the big city?
Teachers. I think teachers always make a difference. I had great teachers in Sherman and always told me I could do whatever I wanted to do. I think I've always been interested in people, and I think that sort of helped me when I got to New York, because New York, really and truly, I watched the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Mm-hmm.
This is hilarious. No one listening to this is going to even know who she was. But she was the first woman on TV that had a big job in a big city that wasn't married and had a career.
Mm-hmm.
She used to get letters about it.
That gives the nod to Minneapolis. I'm not sure I'd throw that in the big city.
That amazing?
We'll go there.
But I thought, I can do this. I can go to a big city, so I went to New York. But I do think that one thing that has helped me, back to your question, I genuinely am interested in my clients. I genuinely like the team I work with. I'm interested in these young people that are starting today. I love it. And I think if you really love what you do, then I'm grateful. I mean, I didn't think I'd end up going to New York and then London and San Francisco and with the bank and back home. And, the joke is I said they bought me a bank so I could move home. And that was Texas Commerce Bank. But it has been the people, both clients and the team.
But let's go back to the family. Father's a bulldozer operator. And as you mentioned, one of the sisters went to college. The other two didn't.
Right.
Talk about the relationship among the four. So two went to college,
different
two
generation.
didn't.
They were born truly 14, 11 years before me. Like
Wow.
there were 3, they were 14, 11, and 8. So I was the last. So I was a different generation, really. And I had so many cheerleaders. Oh, they wanted
So
me
by
to
that
do
time, were your
everything.
parents pushing the
No.
education? Were you expected at that point in time?
They expected me to take advantage of school and hoped I would go to college. And then when I went to college, there was always encouragement. I said, there's this program in London. They're like, yes, do it. So I had all these people cheering me on. You know, the youngest, they wanted me to do what maybe they didn't. And it was a truly different generation.
And then out of Sherman to OU.
Yes.
Kind of economics and history. So put the two of those together. And what have you gotten out of both of those?
Well, I will tell
in your
you,
career?
I wasn't sure what to major in, but I've always loved history. So I thought that sounded good. And I still love history today. Even yesterday, we were talking about the history of Dallas. I could listen to it over and over. I think history teaches us so much. I mean, a lot of it repeats itself. So I love history.
Let's stop you there. So Elaine is going to talk about it. Chemical evolved into JPMorgan Chase. There's been 225 different mergers, acquisitions, et cetera. But here's the trivia question. If you take Chase and go all the way back, who was the founder, and bonus points, what year was it?
No clue.
Samuel Chase started invested. You're going back further than that?
I'm going further than that. If you go back, it was originally the Manhattan Company.
No, that's what I'm saying. The Manhattan
which
Water.
started water. And that
Manhattan
was Aaron
Water
Burr.
Company. Yes, Aaron Burr.
Aaron Burr.
Yes.
You ever watch Hamilton?
But he invested.
I did watch Hamilton.
But he invested with Aaron Burr. See? And we have by the way, we have the dueling pistols in New York, the actual pistols. But yes,
No
it was,
kidding.
and
Which
the
happened
water.
5 years later. That was 5 years
was
afterwards.
Piped.
And Hamilton was
That's
actually
right.
part of the founding group.
That's exactly right. And water was piped through a wooden pipe, and back then, so there was Manhattan Water, and then they did open a teller window for the employees to get some cash, which became the Chase Manhattan Water Company. It split out, Chase.
And the reason they did is there was they had a legislation that gave them the rights to do water. That's kind of got the franchise.
That's right.
But they could use excess dollars to go into banking. So they ended up with the Manhattan Company Bank. Or
right. That's right. That's right.
I've got it close to the words right.
Yes.
And that's how then banking took off.
I'm more educated today.
It's so interesting. And I love it when our young people learn about the bank like that and the history in our art collection, which is the largest art collection in the world. And David Rockefeller started that.
Okay. So OU, why OU? And
That's
at
a
that
great
time,
question.
What did you want to do?
I wanted, it was everybody with the kids in Sherman at that point. This is not a great answer, but they were going to Baylor and UT, and I wanted to be different. And my father paid out-of-state tuition so I could be different. I'm like, I look back, I think, why didn't he say stay in Texas?
Yeah.
But
He saved as a bulldoze operator to put you in that position.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And no one was going to OU. I thought, I always had a little bit of, I want to do it. I want to be a little different. I think it'd be fun to go someplace where I don't know anybody,
that
meet
doesn't
people.
surprise me at all.
And so I went to OU.
So how'd you learn about business school? Because you do OU, economics history, and then you come back, you go to Austin, UT.
Yeah.
So what was the parlay into business school?
Well, I graduated. I was graduating. And I said, I've heard about business school. I called someone who knew about it, and they said, that's a great idea. That was it.
Okay.
I know. And I got there, and there were very few women in 77.
Sure.
And George Kosmetsky was the dean at that moment, and then he went to be president. But it really started my interest in companies, the way they were run, working on a team at a company, figuring out how to make money, what was money. I had no background in money. That's why I love, really quickly, but that's why I love that we teach so many young clients about money that come in our branches. There are so many people today in this country that know nothing about opening an account, how to save. And I didn't. I had to learn it. I started learning it at business school. I went to work for a bank and they taught me. And I have a lot of empathy for people that even today that have come into large amounts of money, and maybe it's one of the spouses, maybe the wife that says, teach me. I've done a lot of other things, but I haven't focused on this, And so I really like that part of it.
You implied that chemical and banking was just because of the opportunity. But as you went through business school, clearly you got exposed to a lot of industries and those sorts of things. During that period of time, where did you see Elaine being in 20 years?
I thought maybe marketing, salesperson. And so that was there was a marketing firm on my list. But interesting fact, in 1979, 78, 79, no New York firms came to the University of Texas campus to interview.
Wow.
And so I had an advisor at UT that helped me pick some firms and help set up some interviews. She said, this is a good one, this is a good one. So I had to set them all up and go to New York. They did not come to UT.
Yep.
Which today it's
why has that changed?
Totally different, yes. Yeah.
So chemical gives you the opportunity.
Yes.
Going into the training program, and then 2 weeks later, though, throw your hands up.
A boss calls me in his office, and I thought to myself, he has figured out I don't know anything. And
You've been caught.
Whoops. And I went in. He said, you were an August grad. You started, the training program's already started here in July. We'd like to send you to London. And if we had a video of it, it'd be really funny. A little bit longer blonde hair, big thick Texas accent. And I said, England? He goes, yes, England. I said, okay, love to do that. And I did get I was so quick to always say yes that I think that also they would, every time they asked me to do something, I said, you bet I'd love to.
Yeah.
London was a great experience. I was the only American. So it was a very diverse group, a lot of people. And I don't think anybody in the class is still there with the bank, but a lot of friends. And it helped me because I had friends internationally. And remembering who you meet at the bank and becoming friends and remembering their name. I preach this all the time. Do not ignore your partners, whether they're in risk, credit, because it helps. It really does. You have friends that just are there over hundreds of years.
In accounting for your success, you've put something together that's called Elaine's 8.
Yes.
So different pieces to that. We want to talk about that, but to the point that you just raised, if you went to somebody today, a new person coming in,
yes,
and said, okay, join now, 2 weeks later, I'm going to send you someplace else. How would this generation react vis-a-vis the way Elaine Agather reacted back in 1979?
I actually love this generation. They're smart. They work hard. They do love to have good coffee and snacks. But they are curious. They don't like to call it feedback. They want constructive criticism or tips. Constructive tips, I think is how they like to say it. So I've really been impressed. But I'm not sure that in 2 weeks sending you to another country, I'm not sure how everybody would react to that.
Maybe not as flexible.
Maybe not as flexible.
So you said that you said yes a lot.
Yes.
Talk to us about the value of that for that younger generation. Because I think there's a lot of competing options in this generation.
Yeah.
There's a desire for instant gratification and a yes equaling something like immediately after.
Right.
But your yes was, hey, I'm going to go get on a plane to London and figure it out.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the value of that.
It's huge. It's huge because the opportunity and I think sometimes today they said, this is what I'm going to do, and they have a plan, and to interrupt it and 2 weeks into it is tough. But the opportunity of meeting all these new people, The person who was running the London office became chairman of the bank before Jamie Dimon, Bill Harrison.
A relationship.
Kidding.
Yes. It's all about relationships. It's all about friendships, partnerships, authenticity, learning to really be yourself, I think. I've been asked before, did you have to change and be more of a tough New York woman? I'm like, no, I've always been tough, but I've always stayed the same. And I think that's important because when you say yes, then you're the same person every time you go someplace. And it helps people trust you.
But the other way to look at that may be Elaine's 8, number 1, saddle your own horse.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that.
Yeah. The Elaine's 8 real quick. When I got to Fort Worth, suddenly I had this title and people started asking me to speak. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure what to speak on. So I created this Elaine's 8 from experiences. And then, of course, I've added to them over the years. The Saddle Your Own Horse was Connie Reeves. We inducted her into the Cowgirl Hall of Fame. She was the first woman to graduate from University of Texas Law School in the 30s. Couldn't find a job. Went to work for Camp Waldemar and taught young women how to ride horses. And when she jumped up on stage, she said, "Always saddle your own horse." I still do. And I thought, I love that. I love that. You have to know how to take care of yourself, how to be resilient, how to not wait for someone else to fix it for you. Mm. You have to be that person that can figure it out, whatever it is, and have the partnerships to ask for help. But you can't just rely on someone that's going to come by and say, "Here's what you do next." My upgrade to it was in Ride with Good Team.
That's a good one.
Because I had a young woman I was giving Elaine's 8 years ago, and she said, "Oh, you've inspired me. You've inspired me. Saddling my own horse. I think I'm going to Wells Fargo." I'm like, no, that's not exactly what I meant. So I think the team is really, really important. It's a team sport. Most jobs are a team sport.
So after 47 years.
Yes.
Is that the most important of Elaine's 8? And you can't play this. I've got no favorite child type of thing.
Yeah.
What is the most? Where do you start? What's the priority?
Yeah. Number 6 has always been a big favorite of mine too, and that's Get Over It.
Oh, that's my favorite actually.
Because whether personal or professional, you got to get over it. You got to move on.
Persevere.
Yeah, and it's very important in the story, real quick, is that this was the JPMorgan Chase merger. This is the most, and at work, this is the story that really is perfect for Get Over It. And there was a gentleman that had my job with JPMorgan in Dallas, and I had the same job. That's always a little bit troublesome. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh dear, well, there's 2 of us. And I got a call from my boss early on saying, you're invited to the meeting in New York, first meeting we're going to have. So I said, great. At this point, I had a cell phone. No
collect.
No, yeah. And I was on the plane and all ready to come. And he calls me. He said, "Where are you?" I said, I'm on the plane. I'm coming up. He goes, "You've been uninvited." And I tell this story because I could have gone on a rant or said, "Or do you know how long I've been here? Or do you know what I brought to there? You got to be kidding." And I said, "I understand. I've been through mergers." I said, "I tell you what, I'm on my way, so I'm going to get my hair cut by that guy I like." He laughed. And I said, "But if dinner opens up, I'm happy to come." And I always say, who would you have called back first? The mad one or the one that said, "I get it"? Bingo. You got to make it easy for people to call you back. You got to get over it. I got invited to dinner, and I got everything from Texas to Florida.
Wow.
And I think sometimes I've seen where people think if I get over it, I'm giving in or I'm not standing up. No, it means you're just picking your battles. Mm-hmm. It just means I get it. It's a merger, for goodness sakes, and I'm not the most important in it. Yep. And I think the more people start to sense that and realize it helps so much.
Said a different way, live in the present, look to the future, but don't live in the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then truly get over it. Like,
Yeah.
let it go.
Exactly. Get behind
Yes.
it. Don't let it hold you back or drag you down.
Yes. It's really important. So I would say that's probably my favorite. The funny personal one is my 50th birthday. I talked about it for 10 years. My husband's fabulous. But when the 50th came, he hadn't really thought about it. And at the last minute, he threw a little party on a Monday night. And at home, I had my game face on at this little bitty party. But at
For
home.
a big number.
Mm-hmm. And at home, I was a little puffed up. I thought, really? We could have had a big party in the backyard. I mean, forgot to invite my 3 sisters. I'm just saying. So my daughter calls me and said, come upstairs. I thought she'd fallen. I run upstairs. I said, she said, number 6. She was in high school. She said, you need to get over it. We messed up. We'll catch up, and we'll make up for it on your 60th. Out the mouth of babes. I'm like, okay, I'm over it. Got it. I thought, how did she get a copy of Elaine's Aid? But anyway, and on my 60th, I planned the party, and he paid for it.
The best of
course. Why not?
all worlds.
Let's talk water. Water is one of the most basic inputs in daily life and one of the least examined. Most people don't know what's actually coming out of their tap. In cities across the country, including Dallas, municipal water can contain elements like chlorine, lead, PFAS, and nitrates. These are measurable compounds, and ongoing research continues to explore their potential impact on long-term health. At a minimum, it raises a reasonable question. What's actually coming through the tap in your home? Dallas Water Doctor is a local DFW company focused on answering that question. They test water at the home level, explain the results clearly, and recommend solutions based on what's actually needed. Whether that's reverse osmosis, whole home water filtration, or something more targeted, they take care of all of it. To learn more, visit dallaswaterdoctor.com/intersections and mention the Intersections podcast for $200 off any filtration solution. Again, that's dallaswaterdoctor.com/intersections. Thank you to the Dallas Water Doctor team for everything you do to support the Intersections podcast.
Between taxes, the unpredictable nature of markets, legislation changes, and so many other variables, your financial plan may feel like it is often under attack. That's why your financial planning team should operate like a battleship where everyone is working hard to accomplish the ship's mission. Too many wealth management teams operate like a cruise ship, catering to the masses, chasing fads, and not truly setting their sights on the long-term destination. If you want confidence that your current financial plan is a battleship that is going to get you long-term results, reach out to Caleb Williams and his team at Roundtable Associates. They offer wealth management solutions and fiduciary advice with a clear and straightforward fee structure. Roundtable Associates, plan purposely, live abundantly. Thank you, Caleb Williams and team, for everything you're doing to support the Intersections podcast.
Been in banking for 4 decades plus. You had children.
Yes.
You had a husband.
Yes.
Talk about being a working woman.
Yeah.
And having kids at home, the balance. I grew up in a family like this. My mom has worked for 45 years. So talk about that balance and maybe the late dinners or how you prioritize that family time to nurture and grow your kids.
It was hard. And I think I've often said they knew I loved it. So I came home happy. I came home occasionally. One time I told my daughter, we're going to do, what did I say? 3 + 3 - on you. She said, no, I'm not your employee. So they're strong daughters and they're fabulous. But I didn't have, if you think about it, I didn't even have the internet or a cell phone when the first one was born. And so I do think technology in so many ways, everything, oh my gosh, but it helped today, it helps parents because they can call home. I would get in the car and I was afraid to leave the bank because I wasn't sure what's going on at the bank, but I wanted to pick up carpool, but there was no cell phone. And then we got a cell phone and that eased that. But I think the ability to, I don't care if you have technology, if you do, whatever, you have to juggle and it's hard. And I think some days I was a great mother. Some days I was a great banker. It's hard to do both. But they learned they're very, very capable. And they learned, my younger daughter, when I asked her about banking, she said, no, if she wanted to go into banking, she said, you're a banker enough for this family.
I assume you get that question a lot. And I've actually gotten it a lot too, as I've spoken to young people. And I think, and you alluded to it just a moment ago, there's a perception it's got to be one or the other.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is you've got enormous obligation to your husband and your kids.
Yes.
But the flip side is there's times when you're responsible for thousands and thousands of people, their career, their jobs are dependent on what you do.
Right.
Sometimes there's a give and take.
There is. There absolutely is. And I think when you are with them, you really have to be with them. And on vacation, I know it was just us. Someone said, you never took a babysitter? I'm like, no. And someone asked me who my night nurse was. I said, I'm me. But I think the point is, even today, when you're with people, you got to be with them. And when a banker walks in my office, you can't look at your phone. You got to look at them. I mean, that's key, is that the time you have together, you really have to be together. And I think they did feel that, and we did spend great time together. If I could go back, I might have picked up carpool a little bit more. But I think maybe not today as much. But back then, a young woman, I wanted to make sure they knew how grateful I was for this opportunity they kept giving me. And so I wanted to show up at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in terms of opportunity, so New York, London, San Francisco, and then opportunity
Texas,
to come back home.
And then Fort Worth. And then they
initially to Dallas.
And then
as you mentioned, eventually in 92 became chairman of Fort Worth Commerce, Texas Commerce Bank. But when you went in there, it wasn't the greatest opportunity. That was not a bank that had been performing very well.
At all. Right. So, and not many people in the bank really went to Fort Worth or cared about it much, or, it wasn't one of the banks.
Not perceived as a career trajectory opportunity.
It was not. No.
So how did you approach it?
And I loved it. And I jumped on it. And I thought, there weren't any female bankers actually when I got there. And I mean, I love my male bankers, but I thought we got to have a little diversity here or something. And I did hire the first female, and this is a true story. I was at Joe T. Garcia's, and it was a waitress. And she had just graduated from TCU, and she talked me into trying a praline, which I still hated it. And I said, you are a great salesman. I said, what do you do? She said, I'm looking for a job. I said, come see me. One of the best branch managers our bank ever had. Worked for the bank for 20 plus years. And so then I thought, well, that's where I'm going to do all my hiring. But it didn't work out after we diversified the venue. I thought it's not going to keep going back to that.
But a key in those early days in commercial banking, which was the dominant part at that time, what you were doing. Talk about the importance of building the relationships among clients. And everybody says relationships are important. You got to build that.
It's everything.
But talk to us of how you did that. How did you really approach it, almost from a tactical standpoint?
It's just everything. I wanted to meet people. Occasionally, I would stand. Oh my! This is why we didn't have social media. But I would stand, the motor bank, and when people would drive through the motor bank, I would be there as they were getting their cash to introduce myself at the motor bank. The drive-through. I met that woman banker she was standing so I was driving through getting my cash. So I did that. When I would meet people, I would follow up. I met a very important, he has passed away now, but his name was Tommy Taylor, and he worked for the Basses. And he said, look, I was in a line, I told him what I did. He said, no, banks are not what they used to be. He said, don't even start. He said, the bank I had, the Fort Worth National, would bring if I needed my lights changed, they'd bring me light bulbs. I mean, I just don't think banks are the same today. And that Monday morning, I showed up at his office with light bulbs.
Yeah. It's very interesting to hear you talk that. Years ago, I did some work for a very large bank on the West Coast.
Yes.
And one of the analysis we did was looking at retail branch managers. And the bank thought they had it down. What they did is identified individuals coming in that were high potential, gave them exposure, spent them a couple of years, then moved them to a larger branch and a larger branch. And we did an analysis, and it was very interesting. Those branches that had the high performers, they were the low-performing branches.
Yeah.
It was the one with the perceived to be low-performing individuals that were the real stars of the branch network. And the reason is just that. When you move 2-3 years, you don't get to know the people.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you're
That's right.
there,
That's right.
You build a relationship.
and those people won't leave come heck or
That's
high
right.
water.
Yeah.
That's right. And Tom, at this point, I know their grandkids.
Yeah.
I know the whole family at this point. And I've been through, a life with my clients and team, divorces, marriages, kids passing away. I mean, because I am still there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that continuity and the not changing who I am, is helpful.
Well, that leads us to 97 because you made a pretty big change, it seems to me. Success, clearly a lot of success in commercial banking, which is dealing with a lot of middle market companies, those sorts of things, building a relationship. But it's really kind of loan-based, needs, capital, that sort of thing. 97, you move over and you head up the personal bank.
Yes, private bank.
Private banking, wealth management, lots of different words for it.
Well,
but working with individuals, largely high net worth individuals.
Right.
What was that shift like?
Well, someone asked me. A boss called me, and I don't say no. And he said, look, and this is really funny to think about now, but we had not, the merger with Chase was the next year. So we didn't, Texas Commerce Bank had a trust department. We had some people who invested money. We didn't have a private bank. And Mark Shapiro called me, who was a huge mentor of mine, who was one of my heroes, and gave me the best advice, some of the best advice I've ever received. Anyway, he called, he said, Elaine, I think we need a private bank. I think I'd love for you and Scott McLean to be co-chairs of this. And I said, I'd love to. And then I said, what is a private bank? He said, well, we're going to find out. We're going to figure it out together. And then, of course, the next year was Chase, and then Chase started teaching us, and then JPMorgan was the private bank, and it really brought in. But one of the pieces of advice Mark Shapiro gave me, we used to have a credit committee where mostly senior people, mostly men, would sit around a table. You would walk in and present your credit to get approved. And I was about to walk in. Mark walks out of the door. He said, let me tell you something. Everybody knows you're a salesman. But I know that you know the numbers on this. You've studied it. You know all the numbers. He said, I want you to go in there and use that other part of your personality. Just give them the numbers. Don't sell. I think it shocked him so much. They approved it in record time. They didn't have that many questions. They had a few on the numbers, and I answered it, and they were like, done. And Mark always was great about you use both of your sides, the salesman, the analytical, because sometimes people expect you to sell, and they're going to push back.
But around the bank, you're known as the steel magnolia. So you've got smile, the effervescence personality that we're seeing right now. But there's the other side, if you talk to people at the bank, that says she can be as cold and hard as steel in negotiations and business.
Well,
is that right?
I don't know cold, but I am probably tough. And I also have always been tough. It felt tough, I think, at certain times, but I've always wanted feedback, and I've given feedback, because you're not a great team unless you do. But on the business side, we got to get it done. Got to close it.
Well, you were a problem solver, and you may not actually remember this, but my parents switched banks in the midway part of their construction of their house in Bluffview, and you were the person that my dad worked with
back 30 years ago
Yeah.
to get that done. And that was a huge deal. I mean, you're midway through construction, you're switching from one bank to another.
Right.
That's a big process on a home.
Right.
And that problem-solving type of attitude, that embodied you.
Yeah.
So talk to about your leadership and how you led employees and people to show them that you, have to use, yes, the relational side, but the number side, but that leadership to show how to get something done inside a workplace.
I mean, some of it is that I now have, I've been there. I remember all my partners. We are friends.
Sure.
And I think being a warrior for your client is really important. Like hearing the no, but finding another way to fix it and staying at it and not just sending an email, picking up the phone, talking to him about it. How else can we solve this? I get crazy when my bankers just send an email. And you have to be able to visit and understand and find another solution. And there's trust involved and figure out what, by protecting the bank, but how can we make this happen for this person? And what I find is that I get calls all the time. And sometimes the ATM's broken in Garland or the whatever. And I love it because I know who to call. But those little things are it's really important to people. Otherwise, it's a big bank that they don't know who to call. And so I love the calls because I can help get it fixed or at least find the right person for them to go to. And I believe in pick up the phone so much that on a big birthday, I decided to give the whole bank a present, the middle of the country, which is what my area. So from Minneapolis, Chicago down. And I gave them mouse pads with my picture and it says, pick up the phone. And the funniest thing now is that a new person will come in and they'll go, who is this? So they'll remember me for that.
That's amazing.
That's terrific. On the private banking side, you deal with some of the most influential families across the nation, high net worth. So in the private bank at JPMorgan Chase, what would be kind of the minimum net worth that would be kind of a play?
Usually we start at 10. And then, of course, we have the high net worth and ultra high net worth. And
so what would kind of a median be?
People have different needs. I think the ultra, you get into 100 and up. Mm-hmm. And, but they're all pretty much the same.
So as you work with them today, and probably most of them
they care about their kids.
Well, most of them would be older generation.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Some. Today we have a lot more.
Yeah, there's younger.
Yes. But what, at least to that older generation who worked with them, what do you wish in terms of investing, managing their money that they had known about when they were younger that would put them in better position today? What lessons should be learned for someone that's coming up? So kind of younger generation, managing money, building wealth. What are the lessons that you kind of see time and time again that say, oh, that's a mistake? I wish they would have 10 years ago, 20 years ago done.
Yep. I think a couple of things. One, we have cycles, and I've seen a lot of people get nervous, pull their money out, and if they'd let it sit, it would have been just fine.
Patience.
Exactly.
Okay.
And sometimes just like we go to a doctor, Kyle, you need a professional to help advise you. And I've seen a lot of families that didn't think they could do it on their own. And so getting, professional advice is a good thing. And sometimes they don't want to pay for maybe the investing or whatever, but sometimes you make a lot more by paying a small fee to have someone really that looks at it every day to help you. With their kids in the trust, what I will tell you is I have seen people not communicate, because I've been through so many life cycles, to their kids what is in the will.
So they pass away, and then it's.
And if I have one piece of advice, you must tell your kids what you have left and communicate it to them while you're alive. Because it only makes them mad that they didn't know and someone else is going to tell them. And I think that's huge. huge. The communication with your family, and it's, early on. Not, you don't have to tell them, give them all the money. You don't have to, make them entitled or all that. But communication about what we want to do with this money, or what you're going to do with this money, or if you're going to give it away. I just think all that is, I've seen huge functional families because they communicate, and a lot of dysfunction too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it leads to, a lot of money spent on lawyers.
Okay.
And it's not good.
You're one of the leaders of an institution that's worth $4 trillion.
Yes.
Or the
Yes.
net assets are $4 trillion. The dominant player. Let's talk a little bit about the institution and kind of how it's changed. Clearly, you've got responsibilities you've touched on for a large part of the country and a large part of the
That's
business. Right. You work with an individual by the name of Jamie Dimon, who is probably respected as the most influential, successful banker.
Leader.
In the last 100 years or so.
Absolutely.
So what's it like to work with Jamie Dimon?
I think, when I am no longer at the bank someday and someone asks me, what was one of the, if not the highlight, it will be that I got to work in his firm watching him lead. And we met when we bought Bank One,
right,
and he came to Dallas.
Interesting situation. So Chase buys Bank One,
yes,
but the CEO comes from the small player.
That's right. That's right. And we were thrilled to have him.
The acquiree.
And he is, and Bill Harrison moved aside, said,
yeah,
Jamie, step in. But he came to Dallas, and we had our corporate challenge that night. It's a race, 3-mile race, the JPMorgan Chase corporate challenge. And I talked him into running. And Roger Staubach, myself, and Jamie, 3 miles.
Wow.
And I thought, for all the women in the world, I have to keep up with these two men here. Well, Roger kind of stepped aside after a while, and then I could see the finish line, and people were yelling at Jamie. And so I sped up and beat him. And I turned around and I said, he tells this story a lot. And I said, hi, I beat you. He said, what was your name again? That's how we met. And he has always been so supportive of Texas. He saw the opportunity. We clearly have more people in Texas today than any other region. He realized the business-friendly piece of this state that was so attractive. And so I think the growth, I've watched the growth in this bank along with the state. It's just, we've been here, our bank in Texas, 150 plus years, but you can see that it both grew. There were 4,000 people here when I got here in Texas Commerce. And today it's 33,000. And so we've watched it, but also the state has grown. And so we've benefited from that. And he has he is so consistent with his message and the leadership that he brings it makes people proud to say they work for him. And they could be 15 ranks down, but they work for him. And the story that I remember that kind of says it all about Jamie, we were doing a town hall in Dallas and at the Meyerson, and there were 2 tellers from East Texas that took a vacation day to drive to Dallas to hear him. He has an ability to communicate the most complicated and the most important things and simplest things in a way that everybody relates to. I've never seen anything like it.
Is that what makes him a great leader?
It makes him a great leader. And he's smart. Oh, my goodness. And the numbers. He studies, and he is a huge history fan. And so he is also always reading and continually reading. He would definitely know that. And the pistols are in his office. And but his history and his ability to build something great, in a very authentic way people relate to. And he doesn't spin anything. He's very frank.
What's he like in a board meeting?
Well, I've not been in a board meeting with him, but I've been in a meeting where he's just very frank. And if someone's going on, he says, let's get to the point. He's that person. And but he welcomes any idea. And I think we are proud of this bank because of how he has kept us fortress balance sheet. When things got tough, during 2008, I wasn't worried about the bank. I was trying to help clients. Not one time did I worry about our bank. We're very strong. And he's always focused on that fortress balance sheet, making sure that we are strong. So I could go on, but that will be a highlight for me in my career.
Several years ago, he had enormous health challenge.
Yes.
Did he change his leadership after that?
Well, he talks about this a little bit. He said that he is someone told him he needs to tell people more, give them more feedback about how they're doing a good job. And he laughed. He said he brought in the show that was on that, anyway, the cookies, he'd bring in cookies. Oh, it was a TV show that was on a couple of years ago, and I can't think of it. But he said maybe I should bring cookies in. Then they'll know, But I don't think he changed it, other than he is aware and building leadership around him.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Is he's really built a strong group of leaders, women, men, giving them all opportunities. We've recently had a lot of movement. He's really making sure people have an opportunity to show what they can do at this bank.
How have you and the bank, in a greater sense, maintained the culture of the organization and a record of success that has almost no bumps along the way, and at a time when you have added so many different outside cultures and some in crisis?
Right.
Back in that 2008 that you talked about, WAMU, you added Lehman. There's some really challenges in that. And then more recently, First Republic Bank, that we saw issues in the banking system several years ago. Talk about, and maybe even, Elaine, it's what the lessons you learned from taking in some of those institutions in the financial field that didn't turn out very well.
Well, it starts at the top. And the leaders you hire and what they expect, and the ability, this is not in our especially the way we are paid, like in my world, the private bank world, we're not a commissioned shop. We are a team. We are a team. We pay a salary and a bonus. How you're paid, you want to help each other. If you're not the right fit for this client, how about this person? Because it's about the whole. And that has always been preached at the top, even back to Walter Shipley. I mean, we're a team. And so you got to reach out. I get calls all the time from different areas of the bank, the investment bank, the commercial bank, with someone that maybe I should meet, someone that needs some help with wealth. And I hired a gentleman once, and he came from another organization. He said, someone called me, am I supposed to pay them? I'm like, no, that's just our culture. Because it grows the bank. It helps the whole bank. We wear the brand. Cowboys ride with the brand. I wear the brand. And so it sounds a little Pollyanna, but it's very true. We really have a team. I think the lessons from mergers, and I saw it early, and someone that I admire very much was always very good at this, and that was Todd Macklin. And he was at the bank for years. And every merger, he was so good about
another Texas person.
Another
that ran
Texas
the retail
person.
side.
That's right. And he was an amazing banker. And he would open up. The minute there was a merger, a lot of people get very territorial, and they don't want to show what they have. They're worried that something. Todd would say, "This is what I got. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Maybe someone else needs to do it better. But here's what we got. Here's an opportunity. Maybe he should run this." He always got the top job because he was so open and so cared about the whole thing to make it right.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of set that example, There's nothing to hide here. How can we, maybe that person is better than you at this. Let's bring them on this team. You go to that team.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember in so many mergers, him having that attitude, and it set the stage.
Mm-hmm.
I think the merger of Chase and JPMorgan, we learned from each other. Chase was a bank.
Mm-hmm.
JPMorgan was a private wealth / investment bank.
Mm-hmm.
And they realized that they needed banking. And we realized we needed to learn something about private bank.
Yeah.
And so it was really very
Everybody
additive.
wins because we
very
need it.
additive.
Yeah.
Sure.
Today, though, and
Mhm.
we were talking about 2008, 2009,
Yeah.
the talk was all too big to fail.
Right.
Coming out of that, we've got to make sure that there's no bank that's large enough that's going to
Right.
hurt the U.S. economy, et cetera. Well, today, Chase is, as we said, $4 trillion.
That's right.
Clearly the dominant player.
Right.
Has it become too big to fail? Have we ended up doing exactly what we said we weren't going to do?
That's a great question, but we need that strength. That strength has helped so much. It's helped, as you mentioned, during Silicon Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And the ability to help take in other clients and the
Mhm.
ability to receive deposits and accounts. And you need someone there that can withstand it, whatever it is. And so, yes, we are very, very large, but we do it with a lot of discipline. And that's what Jamie also brings to the
risk
plate.
management.
Yeah.
Yes. The risk management. I mean,
Are there tenets of that risk management? Are there tactics? Just talk about any of that if you can.
we wake up, even I do, knowing I need to work with my risk manager on this. It's a real partnership. And
Even in the personal bank.
even in the personal bank. If you want a yacht loan, Tom, let me think about it. Let me see your balance sheet. And if you need a big lot, let's talk about it. But even in the private bank, there are risks with very large
Mm-hmm.
private equities, like you name it. But I lean on those partners. They're really fabulous, and they lean on me to know the client. If I went and had never met the client, that happened a couple of times, and with other mergers we've seen where they knew of the client, and they were banking them through their family office. No, you have to know the client. Very opinionated about that one, because that's part of risk.
We've talked about bank in total, but most of your career has
Yes.
been now in this part of the country. You mentioned
Right.
responsibilities go all the way up
Yep.
to the Midwest.
They
but
did, yes.
A big chunk of
It's
it
Texas.
is still Texas. Talk about how you see this market in the next 10 years
My
and
goodness.
where you think it goes. And kind of inherent in that, what do we need to get right and what could go wrong?
Well, I don't see any slowdown in the growth. And it's now moving west. I see it because I see both Fort Worth and Dallas, and it's going west. And it is north. It's up to Sherman. And so I think the ability, and that's why, we, the private bank, have been extremely, especially in Texas, eager about hiring because there's so much growth, wealth, people moving in. So we want to be ready to help and handle that. The banks moving in, I think it's great for the community. I really do. I think I get older. I don't know if I'm still competitive, but I've gotten a little softer. I want us to all be kind of partners so when we can lock arms for the community, it help the community together. But it's great. It is fabulous. I'm looking at, one being built across the street and the other one being built, and, everybody's moving in. And Texas Stock Exchange with the ticker tape. I mean, it is so exciting. And I can even tell from my colleagues around the country, we're not just Texas, the good old western state of now we're a financial hub, and we are being taken extremely seriously. And so what do I worry about? I think I think we've been great about it in the DFW, but we always have to worry about water.
Mm-hmm.
We have to worry about long-term planning. I think we got it right with a lot of our roads, but now we have more construction. I mean, we have to be able to handle what we have and what's coming. And it's not just, it's interesting, it's not even I was talking to some people moving in and they were looking for a doctor. It's doctors, it's all the other stuff besides, it's clubs and housing and
schools.
Schools. Huge. So that's where we have to be very thoughtful, and the leaders all have to step up and help in these different areas to handle the growth and keep what we have in this area, which in this great state, which is so business friendly, but the other word, and I think, Tom, you've talked about this, but the ability to welcome people in and accept them and say, come help us.
Mm-hmm.
Come help us build. We'll help you. Yeah. Glad to have you.
Yeah. People add value here.
Just glad to have you.
It's easy. Elaine, you touched on it a moment ago.
Yes.
This has become the financial hub.
Yes.
Second largest holder of financial services jobs in the nation, way ahead of number 3.
Right.
Still not number 1. Talk about, and again, we've had Goldman come in.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably have another 6,000, 7,000 jobs, Scotia, Morgan Stanley, et cetera. You've also said Wall Street's still Wall Street,
yes,
and it's still there. But let me challenge you a little bit. Over the course of the next decades, not year or two, how much does that really shift? Because you've got all of the mass being created here, you've got all the favorable conditions, and now you have a situation in New York with wealth taxes coming into play, higher property taxes, a situation where that government is showing that it's not very favorable to business. How much can this shift to us over the next couple decades?
So I'm of the opinion that as we go through these cycles, and we've seen it with New York, and they are going to get through it and still be the hub and still be Wall Street. And yes, a lot has moved out, but we still work with New York. We still look to Wall Street. We still look to what's happening with the major IPOs, mergers, et cetera. And so there's room for more, and we have moved into our place. But New York will get through what they're going through now with the leadership, and it will be as strong as ever. I really believe that. It just is, it's a city that people, that they're attracted to it, even if they don't live there their whole lives. They want it to be great. They want to give to it if it's reasonable.
Yep.
And of course, we have a beautiful new building there, and we are banking on it because we have 10,000 bankers that come in every day. Mm-hmm. But now, who wouldn't? This building is so fabulous.
That's fabulous.
It is just fabulous. So I don't think it's all going to move out. I've always thought New York will come back through this just like it did time and time again. And people will go, they'll make money there, they'll build things will be funded and financed, and then they'll go to the rest of the country maybe to live and build, but then they'll go back to New York. So I still believe it's one of our most important spots in this country.
And you can say you're a New Yorker. We had Jay Hartzell in here a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to him, and it had been 3 years before the faculty demanded his resignation. So as a result, I said, you really can't count being a college president for those 3 years, not until they do it. Well, you couldn't really count a New Yorker until you got mugged.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm definitely a New Yorker, and I still love it.
You were mugged.
I was mugged. And count me in.
Check the box.
Check that box.
So what was the lesson you learned from being mugged?
I learned it from my boss when I went in. I kept apologizing for being late from work, and he said, here in New York, if you're not hurt, go back to work. Stop apologizing. And I learned right then, I apologize too much. And I think that is, the feedback you get is critical. You got to take it and run with it.
So I want to talk about female leadership in banking just for a second to piggyback off that. Mm-hmm. What do you see in this generation and the strengths and the qualities that they exude as leaders? Because they're going to take all of our places. They're going to take our spot in leadership. What do you see in those qualities? Do they have the get over it, get back to work type of mentality?
Now, I don't know if this is a fact, but I need to check this someday. We have so many female leaders, and we always have. It's starting with Chemical Bank. We had more than our fair share. I've often said, I think it's because every chairman had daughters, but that's just Elaine. But Walter Shipley had 4 daughters. Bill Harrison had 2. Jamie has 3. And the meritocracy that this bank has always given women is so admirable. They all have an opportunity. I had an opportunity to show what I had, and they said, go for it. And then they kept giving me opportunities. So there has never been any old boy network that I have experienced at the bank. I've always had an opportunity. Now, today, I think these women are amazing. They're bright, but they have options. And when I got out, again, there was no internet. I couldn't start up a company on the internet. And I have seen more talented, strong, brilliant young women start businesses. And that really wasn't an option. And now they can do that. And I think for someone like me, it's very rare to stay someplace this long. And today they can do that. They can start a boot company. They can start another kind of company. And then they can do that while they have kids, and they can build up a business and have a huge career, and then go do something else, sell it. And that's fabulous, fabulous. But I think the women at the bank and where I see today are as strong as ever. They're as strong as ever. And I'm so proud of them.
So with all of your successes, if you could go back to 1979, when a 20-something Elaine Agather was walking into Chemical Bank for the first time, and just before she opens the doors, you were able to whisper some advice to her, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great. I think I would maybe say, relax. You don't have to prove it all today. It's a marathon. You know, I remember someone saying, I think it might have been Todd, and said, well, no, Elaine will do it. Like every evening event, I showed up because I was so grateful. And I think I would say, relax, show up, but balance it more.
You, as I mentioned up front, you've been involved in this community and given back. So it hasn't just been 47 years of rising within the bank. You've been involved in, as I know, most of the major community issues, a number of different community organizations. With what you just said, why did you spend so much time on things that were outside your family and outside the trajectory of your career in the bank?
I do think back then that we as bankers were expected to give back, be involved. And then, of course, I fell in love with it, like I do most everything. And I'm like, oh, I can help. I can help here. I can help with the Cowgirl Museum. I can help with the stock show. I can help with the Bass Hall. I can help with, and I wanted to help. And then, of course, I got to know the leaders, and I wanted to not let them down and stay in there and help more and help them raise money. The Perot Museum right now is raising money. I offered the other day, I said, I'd love to help you. I'm like, what is wrong with me? But I think it's such a fabulous museum. And I'm so proud of our community, And Tom, I don't know if you remember this, but you came over to my house in Dallas for dinner, and we had the mayor of Fort Worth. Do you remember this? And it was kind of probably one of the first times the mayor in Fort Worth had gone to Dallas to meet them, for dinner. And I think that's also been a passion of mine, knowing both communities, getting them to work together.
Actually, the best example, and I agree with you. I enjoyed working with everybody in Fort Worth, and we need to understand this is a region. It's not just individual cities. The mayor of Fort Worth actually, for my first council meeting, came and sat in on it.
Love that.
And that was, again, kind of small gesture, but
huge.
40-minute ride backwards.
Yes.
He could have done a lot of other things, but he came and sat in it. And that was, that showed an awful lot.
It showed a whole
pretty
lot.
significant.
That's right.
So of all the things you've done in the community, what's been the most gratifying?
I have loved the Dallas Citizens Council. And I can't remember. I think I was the first female chair.
Cool. So cool.
Yeah.
And, but I really mean this. That's never, but that wasn't a big deal. It was because I loved doing it. I never did it to be the first. And the other thing I think I'm so proud of is the relationships, the friendships. I remember, oh my goodness, so many. And quite frankly, back then, they were mostly men that gave me such great advice. Oh, I mean, funny. I need to write it down. Some of them are so funny. I got to Fort Worth and I thought I'm going to have a little cocktail party so I can meet these people over here. But I didn't, Sherman was dry growing up. I didn't know much about, and they said, ma'am, do you want what kind of liquor? I said, well, just the cheapest. And a gentleman named Tex Moncrief walks into his club, Shady Oaks, and orders a Crown Royal. And they said, sir, I'm sorry, she's not serving that tonight. He said, it's my club. Give me a Crown Royal. And he comes over to me. He had not met me. He said, my name's Tex Moncrief. I want to tell you something. I want you to be successful here. Don't ever throw a cheap party again. I said, thank you.
Got it.
Done deal.
Love it.
Done deal.
So where are you in 10 years?
Oh, my gosh.
Are you at Disneyland with the grandkids? Are you still working?
That's a great question. I don't know. I hope I'm doing something I love like this, that I'm busy and giving back, showing up, And my grandsons will be older, so I'm trying to take advantage of them wanting to be with me right now.
Sure.
But I have dressed up as a bunny every Easter to go be with my grandkids. I don't do it at the bank anymore. But and I told my 6-year-old grandson that even until his 21st birthday, I'm going to find him and show up as a bunny wherever he is on Easter.
Amazing.
So I'll be doing something like that, I'm sure.
I love it.
Well, you'll be turning 39 next year. What do you want to be remembered for, Elaine, with all the things that you have done, accomplished?
That I loved it and showed up, gave back.
You have done all of that and more for this community. I know, speaking to senior individuals at your bank, that you have done it there too. We are very appreciative you've been here, but much more appreciative for everything that you've given to so many people around you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching today's episode. Again, today's episode is sponsored by Clay Cooley Automotive, a family-owned, family-operated automotive company serving the local DFW Metroplex for over 22 years.